Whether you are about to start brushing up on your tactics or looking to achieve more through your content marketing on LinkedIn, you will get everything here. Content marketing is a practice that has been around far longer than its current label. It includes planning, writing, and distributing content that is interesting for your audience but does not try to sell your services and products. Some of you will ask, so why should I do content marketing if it's not going to sell my products and services? Well, brands use content marketing to develop brand awareness, trust, and affinity with your products and services. Just remember, content marketing is a long-term play. However, if you execute it well, it's going to keep bringing you positives. Saying that, here are our 9 tips for executing a content marketing strategy on LinkedIn. As you can see, we have a special guest today, Connall, a part of our team. He does business development and he's quite active on LinkedIn. Plus, he's the captain of Adobe and Wix RFC. I got that right here. Yeah.
Tip number 1. Know your audience. For me, this is the most fundamental thing that anyone can do for any business is getting to know your audience. For me, it should be one of the main pillars of your business strategy. The insight you can get from knowing your audience will help your business out in the current situation it's in and will help it get to any point that you wish to get to. The reason is the data that comes from getting to know your audience will help you change and adapt your strategy from your website to face-to-face marketing and everything that's in between. The more detail you can get from the data from getting to know your audience, the better it is and the more you can put to use. Data can come from your website, so who comes onto your website, how long they stay on for and where they're looking. It could come from views from LinkedIn, so you get to see who is looking at what content you're putting out there. And I will talk more about how you can utilize that and actually really hone in on your marketing strategy.
So Connall, before you move on, your last role was in finance. What were you doing with data?
So my job was to decipher data. I was the data decipher, if you will. So I was given many data entry points in the thousands, complete raw data, and my job was to basically sift through it and work out the patterns and any sense that I could make from it. So for me, it was all financial stuff, mainly regarding the stock market. So understanding trends, when trends are about to start and when trends are about to fall off. And this is only possible through deciphering the data and understanding and then utilizing it for the benefit of customers and ourselves. So in terms of the stock market, it would be for me to understand when a particular stock is performing and behaving in a certain way, hopefully in an upwards pattern, and that is when we would say that's the time to jump in. So that was what I used to use data in my previous role.
Number 2, set objectives and goals. So why do you want to execute a content marketing strategy on LinkedIn? Most probably you are looking to get more clients, but if you are thinking that way, it's going to be one of the last things you will achieve. You will have to do quite a few other things in between. Once you have a good understanding of your audience, like Connall was speaking, you can start adding detail to what you want to achieve and what you want to play, and then execute it from there. In all fairness, a clearly defined content marketing strategy is important in every form of content, let alone just LinkedIn. You will need to sit and define your incremental goals that you can achieve, you can tick off, and you can keep staying on track. Just to give you a push in the right direction, these are some of the common goals that you can go for. First, increasing the number of people who are following your LinkedIn page. If the right people are following your LinkedIn page, that's a good thing. More must be better. One thing you should know is on LinkedIn, people are not going to just start following your LinkedIn page. You may have to invite them directly. You may need to have a relationship with them beforehand. And once you send them that invite, they are more likely to come and like your page. Second, expanding the reach of your branded content. You want your business to be known, and LinkedIn is amazing for that. Number 3, driving qualified leads. I think that one is obvious. We have been talking about going for the right people, bringing them onto the page. That's what people want from LinkedIn as well. Number 4, growing awareness. This is especially true if you're running a campaign and using LinkedIn for it, and therefore you are creating content around it. For example, we are starting a football team at Axies Digital. It's going to be called Axies FC. So Harmeet has started to put content around that this weekend. And number 5, which is the most common goal that people go for, is driving more traffic to your website. Again, that's quite obvious, but usually people, if they have not done much SEO work, or if their website is new but their LinkedIn profile is a bit more developed, they will try to get more people coming to their website directly through LinkedIn. But in any case, it is an effective strategy to bring people through LinkedIn in any case. In all these cases, and whatever other goals you have that you want to achieve through LinkedIn, you need to understand the customer journey.
Number 3, map out the customer journey. If this is a new venture, it's a situation, what comes first, the egg or the chicken? You won't actually know the customer journey until you've got into the game. And so as you start building your experience, the customer journey will also be a lot clearer. When I first started my business in the Airbnb management game, I thought my customer base was going to be those that travel and want to rent out their home on the short-term market. But was I wrong? After 2 or 3 months, I realized the market was those that are property investors, because they were the ones that are looking to make and maximize their revenue.
So Harmeet, would you say that having a starting strategy, even though it did not work out, it still helped you in terms of starting off, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. You still need a plan at the very beginning, and it's going to be a short-term plan. It could be something for a month or 2, but don't hit home on 5-year plans. Having a vague idea is good, but be flexible, and that's the main point. One of the things that we've realized as we've got more experience in marketing, what is less important is what we do, the product, but the strategy becomes more important, where the how becomes a lot more clearer. Over time, we've started to realize our audience and their understanding, but more importantly, what are they focusing on? What are their problems? And then as time goes on and the relationship builds, it's about us or yourselves educating your ideal audience on your products and services and how you come together. Using the example from my Airbnb management experience, when it was clear who the audience was, the property investors, the content started off being around maximizing revenues. If I had been focusing on those individuals that want to make more holidays and then renting out their space, then the content would simply be around how to make their dream come true. Now, this is the starting point. There are going to be a number of touch points, a number of stepping stones, and it depends on the direction that you want to go in. And this is where your strategy will help you to understand what comes next in your content cycle. For maximum impact, it's important that when you post on LinkedIn, that your content is going to the right people and in the proper context. All in all, it's about forming trust with your audience, and so it's about the journey that you take to get there. You'll want to learn which terms and topics do they search for, which social circles they're associated with, which social media channels do they use and how, which actions and behavior tend to correlate with buying intent.
Number 4, plan some of your content in advance. This suggestion slightly depends on the kind of person you are. We know people who plan everything that they post on LinkedIn, but I feel that it takes away some of the personalization. On the other hand, there are people who wing the whole content creation on LinkedIn and then stop posting. I'm going to give an example of us, to be fair. Harmeet doesn't do any of his content beforehand, but what he has done now is posting on LinkedIn comes naturally to him. If he goes out, if he has coffee with someone, if he has a meeting with someone, he will post about that on LinkedIn. He doesn't need to go and schedule that. On the other hand, Connall and I do use HubSpot, and we put some of our post ideas there, even if we don't write the whole post. It just makes it easier if you run out of what to say, or if you want to post on LinkedIn and you don't have an idea at that time. So in order to reach optimal results on LinkedIn, I suggest that you plan at least some of your content. Here are some tips for planning your content more effectively. First, for example, this is my process. Start looking into some articles, some news pieces which you find interesting, and you can take some tips from it or some bits from it. You can then write your own take on LinkedIn from these ideas.
So tell us, what sources do you look at when you're looking for inspiration?
To be fair, it depends on what I want to share. If I'm going to share anything around marketing, I'm going to look at what Google is tweeting, for example. If I want to share something about finance, I will check Reuters or FT. If I want to share some other articles, I can look into, for example, BBC Business. So there are quite a few options that you can look into, and it depends on the kind of content that you are doing. Then you can leverage some software. I've already mentioned HubSpot. You can also use Hootsuite. Any other software that you guys use?
I use Zoho.
Yeah. So that is part of our CRM system. You can do scheduling from there as well. The way I look at it is, if you have some kind of plan, if you have some kind of direction of what you want to do on LinkedIn, it will save you some energy, which can then be spent somewhere else. And I know some people will ask, what kind of content should I be posting? There is no limit on LinkedIn these days. Written content, content with images, videos, all of it can work as long as you show a bit of creativity when you are posting it, rather than just taking something and expecting results. Regardless of what you choose, what you want to achieve is getting attention from your ideal audience. And this connects well with the next point that Harmeet is going to make.
Number 5, build a network that wants to see your content. When you're forming your network, this means that you'll have to connect and form relationships with individuals even though that they're not your direct customers. So, if you're starting off on LinkedIn, this is the perfect opportunity for you to plan so you can form your perfect dream network. One of the things that we've found that is really important is to think about the supply chain and divide those that have higher quality products and services to those that are on the lower. And this is because it is very unlikely that if you're in the quality arena, you won't be buying from someone that is a low quality supplier because it will ruin your brand. An example of this is someone in the supply chain of John Lewis buy from the supply chain of Primark. As the old cliche goes, Rome was not built overnight, and in the same way, your network won't either. Not only are you forming trust with connections, real people, you're having to also form trust with the algorithms.
Number 6, determine your frequency strategy. As Harmeet just said, it's not only building relationships with your audience, but also the algorithms. And algorithms are constantly changing all the time, and it's getting to know them and getting to utilize them for your benefit. Striking a balance of frequency is quite a hard thing to do, and it will take time to get the data to understand what truly best and suits your audience and also yourself. As we mentioned earlier, there are tools such as Hootsuite that help plan, and there are also people like Harmeet that do it off the cuff and is more natural with their approach. Taz, how often do you post?
Well, I post 4 times a day, but I tell everyone that don't start off by doing this. I used to post once a week maybe, then I started posting a couple of times. I've reached a point where I started posting 5 times a day and that became too much. So I reduced it to 4 times a day. But yeah, just look at your own balance.
Yeah, following on from what Taseer just said, it is a skill, and just like content, videos are no different. If you look back at some of our first videos, you'll see a progression. If you go straight in doing lots of content, you'll actually be put off. And I've found people, like we said on the last video, you'll do it, for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then you stop. And that's no good to anyone.
Think of it like dating. You find someone you're attracted to, you see yourself having a future with them, but the last thing you want to do is be too needy. You don't want to be turning up at their door all the time, saying hello, asking questions, and just being in their face all the time. You want to take it back a couple of paces, take it nice and slow, post every once in a while, say hello, drop that odd text here and there, and eventually then you can start building up your frequency, which in turn builds up the relationship for a more stronger, lasting relationship.
And then you live together.
Yeah. To summarize, I have 3 points. Number 1 is be consistent. Be consistent with your post, so the style of them, how long they are, how short they are, but also the timing. So try and post roughly the same time every day, because this not only helps with the algorithms, but helps with your own data and how to track it and to see where things are going well and not so well. Number 2 is measure, measure, measure. Just like fitness, the best thing to do to help track your improvements is to measure. You start off at A, you may end up at B, but it's important to know how you got from A to B, because that is when you can begin to hone in on the skills that you're good at, and you'll find weaknesses and areas to improve. Number 3 is plan ahead. We've mentioned it a couple of times. Tools such as Hootsuite allow you to have posts in line to be scheduled, which will help with your timings and consistency with post and style, but also leave room for flexibility for the odd things that may pop up throughout the day. My final point is remember that in every industry it is going to be different. So it's going to be a different audience you're trying to attract, which means different strategy will need to be used. For us, being quite popular and frequent on LinkedIn is great because that's where our type of target audience is hanging out. But for those that may be more in the trade industry, you have to look elsewhere, but the rules still apply in terms of knowing your audience and being consistent with it.
Number 7, ask colleagues to engage. Rarely, and I mean rarely, you will start posting on LinkedIn and instantly start getting engagement. Your chances of this happening are slim to none. In fact, I've seen a few examples of people who started posting, got success in the beginning because they talked about something which was a hot topic at the time. But the reality of LinkedIn is that engagement will not stay forever. And this puts off those people and they stopped posting afterwards. In reality, building a strong content strategy on LinkedIn and implementing it takes a village. So ask everyone you can. You can ask your colleagues, you can ask your employees, you can ask your friends, whoever is going to engage with your content in the beginning to help you with a bit of a push, go and ask them. Here, you may have to get over the hesitation, some of the discomfort that comes with asking people for something. This is just how LinkedIn works. In addition, you can also tag people, but make sure that the tags are relevant. I have lost my shitum with a couple of people who posted me in content that I had nothing to do with. Shitum is a place, so I don't want to swear. Shitum is a place. In our company, Axies Digital, for example, we have a group chat on WhatsApp. We need to make some of the people more active in there, but at least we have something to work with. What you need to remember is that if you share a link with your colleagues, with your employees, whoever, if they comment straight away, it is going to push the engagement far quicker. As long as you reciprocate afterwards, it is a win-win situation.
Number 8, follow up with generated activity. Over the last 2 or 3 years, we've done many events and programs, and this has required content marketing to build the awareness. We've found if we want people to come to the event, we've got to then personally invite individuals on a DM where they will sign up. There's been a few times where people have come to us, businesses have come to us, and they've asked us for advice on how they actually get people coming onto their event. And once we've gone through some of the detail, they had only gone as far as doing content marketing, but didn't get to the next stage, and that was sending a personal invite. Let's just take it one step back onto content marketing. You'll know it's working if there is a spike in your activity and your engagement. This could be in the form of your profile views, likes, comments. A tool that we use is Shield app, and we've been using this for the last couple of years. But Connall, we had a quick look on yours today actually. And one of the things that we do on this is how are the engagements growing over time? And this is the kind of analytics you can't do just on LinkedIn. Taz, for you, how would you say that you use Shield app?
To be fair, when I initially started using Shield app, I was keeping a track of which hashtags are working for me. So the things that I generally talk about in my profile, if I'm talking about sustainability, if I'm talking about technology, not necessarily just about the business, but it gave me a bit of an understanding of what my audience wants to see. From there on, I just keep a track of what is still working, what needs to be changed, and it just gives me a good idea of what to do in the future.
So at this point, when there are people engaging with you on your post, do remember to connect with them or send a direct message. What is beautiful about content marketing is that you'll have an insight to what your audience or this particular individual finds interesting and where you have things in common when they have engaged with particular posts. And what you'll notice over a period of time is that these particular individuals will only engage with certain topics that you have in common. And this gives you something to talk about, but don't be surprised if only 10 to 20% of people reply back to your messages. It may be because they're not interested, or it may be that they are busy at that moment of time and the message slips the net, which is the answer most of the times.
Number 9, optimize successes. I mentioned earlier that measuring is the key to success. You may have heard the phrase that the devil is in the detail, but I say the devil is in the data. With tools such as the Shield app, which we all use, you can see quite clearly what went well and what didn't go so well. And with the things that went well, then you can break that down even further to optimize it even more so. It's like a race car. You may win one race with it by a country mile, but there are always room to improve, whether that is losing weight from the chassis, improving the engine, changing the tires, and it's exactly the same for business.
Before we finish this video, I wanted to share a couple of helpful suggestions. First, keep the algorithms in mind. We have mentioned the algorithms. One thing you cannot do on LinkedIn is to keep banging on about the same things all the time. Just like real life, people will get bored and algorithms treat your content the same way. Second, don't be too hard on yourself if you don't get the content right. We had the example of Harmeet, who went in with one strategy. Once he learned that it was not going to work and business was going in a different direction, he was able to change it. You might have to do it a couple of times before it works for you, so don't be hard on yourself. Saying that, good luck with your LinkedIn content marketing strategy.
Hi, I'm Harmeet Singh, and Connall, thanks for joining today.
It's been a pleasure.
And I'm Taseer, Ahmad. Thanks for watching this video. Hopefully you found it useful. Please like and subscribe and do connect with us on LinkedIn. Cheers.